Hey, what a delight to have back with us today Gary Kreep. He's been with us before. He's an attorney, and of course he heads up the United States Justice Foundation, and we've talked to him about Obamacare, but today we're going to talk to him about this incredible conflict concerning Chick-fil-A and all what's happening with now the Democratic Party openly, perhaps into their platform coming up in the convention, going to sanction same-sex marriages. So Gary, what a delight to have you back with us.
Thank you for having me on your show again. God bless.
Yeah, you too. This whole controversy is really something, and to even have a private company get involved in it, and some of the numbers that we're seeing with people now standing in support of Chick-fil-A has been very encouraging, and yet now we're seeing those who are against it start to speak out a little bit more. Where is this leading us, Gary? Where is this going to take us?
Well, Barack Obama has based his whole campaign so far on race warfare, his campaign for election, on race warfare and class warfare. Now I think he's trying to rally the troops of his base, which is the homosexual community and the various minorities around him. And he's reached out to the Hispanic community by this amnesty, this unconstitutional amnesty executive order, and he's threatening of Border Patrol agents who are simply arresting illegal aliens. And he's now reaching out to the homosexual community by his support for same-sex marriage and Democratic Party support for same-sex marriage. And he's already reaching out to the black community because he's black himself. Although he's running into some resistance there because of his support for same-sex marriage. One of the things that Mr. Obama seems to forget is that when in California, when he was winning 90% of the black vote in California in 2008, 70% of the black vote supported Proposition 8, which put into the California Constitution a definition of marriage. So by him coming out now and supporting same-sex marriage and in order to try to obtain more support and more donations, more manpower from the homosexual community, he's trying to rev up his campaign, but he risks alienating a significant part of the black and Hispanic community, because the Hispanic community is overwhelmingly Catholic, and the Catholic Church obviously opposes same-sex marriage, and the black community is overwhelmingly either Baptist or various Christian denominations who also oppose same-sex marriage. But he's playing this in an interesting way. But the sad thing is that he's now using religious discrimination to target his opponents. But I guess we shouldn't be surprised given his other actions.
Well, you know what's interesting about this, because if you just run the raw numbers, Gary, it appears to me that he has more to lose than he does to gain by going down this road. If the faith community within the Democratic Party now abandon him over this issue, and there's a good chance that they will, or maybe they won't, I don't know, but if they don't, then it seems to me that they put themselves in somewhat of a hypocritical position. But it seems to me he stands more to lose than he does to gain, because of the numbers that I see around the country, a vast majority of Americans do not want same-sex marriages.
Well, he won North Carolina in 2008, and he was expected to win North Carolina in 2012. Then they had their initiative to install marriage as being solely between one man and one woman, and which won overwhelmingly in North Carolina. He comes out for same-sex marriage at about the same time, and all of a sudden he's expected to lose North Carolina, which is interesting. Now, he may not care because he figures he's got enough support in other states to pull over. But again, you're seeing black pastors from around the country questioning this move by him, because it just throws their faith in their face, saying, I don't care. He claims to be a Christian, yet obviously he won't support National Day of Prayer. Instead, he does something to celebrate Ramadan. I mean, we have a man who has a real problem with the truth and real problem with basic understanding of the Constitution, who doesn't care whether he lights, cheats, or steal to gain re-election.
All right. So it appeared initially that the Chick-fil-A stance was a corporate decision that got blown up into the media. And now you got mayors saying they're going to ban Chick-fil-A from being in their cities. Can they do that?
Not really. Yeah. It's kind of interesting. Rahm Emanuel, who was Mr. Obama's chief of staff for 2.5 or 3 years, started this off saying that Chick-fil-A's values are not Chicago values. Now, interestingly enough, the week before, he had embraced the black Muslims, which apparently means that Chicago's values are anti-Semitism, anti-Christian, anti-white, and rejection of the Bible. Now, Mr. Manuel's backed off on that, by the way, because someone kind of pointed out to him that if they did deny an application by a Chick-fil-A franchise to open in Chicago on those grounds, there would certainly be a lawsuit, unless you had a really weird judge, like the judge in the zombie Mohammed case. The lawsuit would certainly be successful. Chicago would lose, they'd pay attorney's fees, and they'd be embarrassed. Now, he's been joined, of course, by the mayors of Boston, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and Atlanta, and the head of the city council in New York. Now, Mayor Bloomberg of New York, who's no friend of conservatives or Christians, has blasted these comments and said it's ridiculous to deny the franchise coming into the jurisdiction based upon the religious beliefs of their owners. And let's just be real about this. Yeah. We have a tremendously high unemployment rate in the United States. According to some figures that were released recently, the federal government in one report says, oh, it's about 8.3%, but in another report, which doesn't give all the waivers and take out all the people who've been unemployed too long, et cetera, it said the real unemployment in California is about 20.3%, and the real unemployment in Nevada was over 22%, and the real unemployment in Rhode Island is 18.9%, just for examples. Now, if the mayors of cities in these states are going to say, we don't want businesses coming in hiring people, that's pretty stupid. People need jobs. Yeah. But the liberals don't care.
All right, so if the faith community on both sides of the aisle, D's and R's and I's and everything else, if they don't push back on this issue, where could it lead?
Well, Mr. Obama has shown a marked propensity for ignoring the Constitution. And if he gets away with this and his people get away with this, we got some real problems. I mean, Obamacare was one big unconstitutional mess. I still can't believe Justice Roberts supported it. But this would be even worse. This is basically saying that we can discriminate, we, the government, can discriminate against businesses based upon the religious and political beliefs of their owners. And then it's just a free-for-all. Forget the Constitution, forget civil rights, because it's only going to matter who's in control. I mean, actions like that would justify discrimination against Muslims. Actions like that would justify discrimination against atheists, against Catholics, against Protestants, against everybody. It would only depend on who's in power. And that's talk about slippery slopes. That's a real big one.
All right. Do you expect the Republicans to hold the line on this?
Mitt Romney's already said he's not going to do anything about it. The Republicans, I have to understand, most of the Republican leaders in Congress and a lot of the Republican leaders in the states are all big government supporters. They want the power that Mr. Obama is flexing. They just want to be the ones to wield it. So I'm not really sure if there's going to be a big pushback by the Republicans in Congress or even in some of the state legislatures. There will be by some, because there are some very good people in Congress and very good people in state legislatures, and they will push back. But Romney doesn't want to touch it. I don't see Boehner or McConnell touching it unless they see some political advantage. Former Governor Huckabee of Arkansas is the one who started this, and he says that he got about 20 million hits on a website he set up for this. So this issue is not over, but I don't think the Republicans have the interest or the guts to take on this issue for the most part.
The last count, somewhere between 28 and 30 states now have modified their constitution to define marriage between a man and a woman. I mean, that seems to be a majority.
Yes, but you have to understand the liberals don't care. The homosexual activists don't care. They want what they want. These people who claim to preach tolerance are the most intolerant of people, and this is just another example.
Why do you think this thing has gone this far? I mean, it just seems to be out of control now. There doesn't seem to be an answer to it.
Because Mr. Obama has made it clear that the Constitution is his to bend, his to change, his to do, or his to ignore. I mean, there's a whole number of examples I could give you of cases that I've been involved with recently. And so his supporters are following, if the Constitution means nothing to the purported President of the United States, then why should anybody else follow it?
All right, so we're going to go into this convention. We're going to watch the Democratic Party go from really blue to rainbow. They're going to solidify it probably in their platform. It could cost them some votes within themselves. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Can he do anything by executive order on this? If he was to lose on his way out of the White House before he turns the light out, can he do anything further with this?
Well, first of all, you have to understand executive orders are not what they're being used for. Executive orders are supposed to be rules issued by the president to govern the executive branch, internal things.
Right.
But he's using executive orders to
for
rule
lawmaking, yeah.
Yes, for lawmaking. And Congress is so gutless and spineless that they won't do anything about it. But again, as I said before, a lot of the Republicans are big government Republicans. They want the powers that Mr. Obama is wielding. They just want to be the ones to wield them.
All right. Let me just ask you a Tea Party question. It seems like the Tea Party...
I'm sorry. Let me finish the answer.
Yeah.
So I kind of didn't answer your question. I didn't mean to do it.
Okay.
So the short answer is I wouldn't put anything past it.
Okay. The Tea Party seems to be pretty still active out there in some of these races, House and Senate races, and we're starting to see it now in some of these primaries. And if there is further Tea Party people elected, at least that mindset elected into Congress, even with the Mitt Romney president, they could hold him on the conservative side, don't you think?
Well, I would hope so, but the reality is that a lot of the people we elected in 2010 haven't stood up for the Tea Party principles in which they were elected, and you have to. And if, again, with these big government Republicans, and Mitt Romney is a big government Republican,
right.
With these big government Republicans like John Boehner and Mitch McConnell in there, they're not going to stand up to Romney. The more power he tries to collect in the executive branch, they're going to support it because they're in control of it. They're only going to complain about it if the Democrats use it.
Wow, this is really interesting. On another subject, quickly before I run out of time, we're all in shock what happened with the Supreme Court decision over Obamacare. Have you had a chance to process that now?
Well, as much as one can. I mean, obviously we don't know what's going on in Chief Justice Roberts' brain,
yeah.
But I've got a feeling that he was looking at. I believe, and I could be 100% wrong, but I believe that he felt that if they overturned Obamacare, it would put the Supreme Court into the same position as it was after its ruling on the 2000 elections. In other words, it'd make the Supreme Court the center of the presidential election in 2012 rather than the voters and the candidates. So I think that's one of the reasons why he ruled as he did. I think it was a mistake, and that's been borne out by polls which show that the Supreme Court has held it as immediately after that ruling, is held at the lowest regard that it's ever been held since it's been polling on the Supreme Court. So I think if that was his intent, he blew it. If it was his intent to preserve himself a place in posterity, then that's absolutely the wrong reason to rule a certain way in a case.
What a huge disappointment. Gary, thank you for being with us. People want to correspond with you, your website?
USJF.net. It's the initials of our organization, United States Justice Foundation, USJF.net. Thank you for having me on your show again, and God bless.